All right, we're live here. Yes. All right, want to welcome everybody to another episode of Levi's Youth Sports Talk. First, I want to thank my sponsors, Justin Womack for the chain that you see there, and Steve Aguado for the banner that you see behind me. And also, I want to thank to all my supporters because without y'all, this podcast wouldn't be doing what it's doing. So I really appreciate all the support. Now let's welcome two-time Olympian and mental toughness coach Shawnee Harle to the show.
I'm
Thank you.
ready.
All right, glad I didn't butcher your name because I'm very good at
You got it right. Lots of people don't. You got it right on the first time. You must have mental toughness.
it. I have to have something then. I have to have something. But first off, if you want to start off, we can talk about your upbringing and like what sports you played growing up.
Well, I went to a small school, and so I played all the sports for as long as I can remember. And, as we know, there is a lot of research that says multi-sport athletes, they like that as opposed to early specialization. So I was a multi-sport athlete, but I didn't know that. I don't even know if we called it that, back in the day. So everything that my school offered, I played.
Okay. And like once you got older and then how did it come about, you getting to the Olympics? What sport was it that you was, or what was it that when you first was able to get to the Olympics?
Yeah. Well, it certainly wasn't the path that I was expecting. My favorite sport was basketball. And you know what? I kind of picked the wrong one because I'm only 5'5", but
Uh-oh.
I picked it because I loved it. And then I played university basketball in Canada, and that would be your collegiate basketball in the US. I did that for 3 years, but I was just okay. I was a bench sitter, a role player, and I got cut after 3 years. And I was so mad, so sad, so disappointed, all the things. And yet it was the best thing that happened for me because it helped me go from a basketball player to a basketball coach. And I coached I was head coach at the collegiate level. In Canada, we call it university, for 20 years. And that was my path to the Olympics. And I was an assistant coach in 1996 in Atlanta. So that tells you how old I am. And also in 2016 in Brazil, I was also an assistant coach.
Okay. And how was it preparing for the Olympics? As a coach, what goes through it? Because in college and stuff, you have to scout the other teams and stuff like that to get ready for the game. So how was it for y'all getting ready for the Olympics?
I mean, honestly, it's 4 years to get ready, and it is actually kind of longer than that. I mean, 4 years is how the cycle works. We're on a quadrennial cycle, and from the very first year of that quadrennial cycle, we are preparing for one thing and one thing only, and that is the Olympics. Now, in between there, we have other championships. We've got world championships, but the goal is in the 3 years leading up to the Olympics is we're trying to see who our competition is going to be and make sure that we get to see those teams before the Olympics. We get to compete against them just so that we have an idea of where we stand. And honestly, it's the preparation is so over the top, but I mean that in all the best ways. It has to, because you're trying to play on the biggest day, the biggest stage of your life, and every stone is turned over. The amount of video that gets done, the amount of video analysis, the scouting reports, individual meetings with players, group meetings with players, team, it is big, it's deep, and it's all in.
Hmm. And so, in Canada, do y'all have to like qualify to go to the Olympics?
Yeah.
And what's that process like?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that because we only see the teams that are at the Olympics. We don't see how many didn't get there. Every athlete, every team that's there, there's a whole bunch that aren't because they didn't make it through the qualification. We qualify through our zone, which is called the AmeriCup. So it's the Americas. So it's all of North America and all of South America. And typically those tournaments are held down in South America. And the year that we qualified for the Olympics, what the cool thing was is that we got to host that tournament in Canada for the first time ever. And we won that tournament on home soil in front of a sold out standing room only gym. So not only did we win that, but when that buzzer went, it was like, boom, we're going to the Olympics.
And at that moment, right, what was the feeling like between y'all, you coaches and players?
Oh, like it gets me emotional because the sacrifices are so big. You have a singular focus and there's nothing else going on in your life. It is so dialed in and it is so narrow. And particularly the athletes, what they give up, what they sacrifice to have the opportunity to represent their country. I think those are the kinds of things that hit home when the buzzer goes. It's like we made all of these sacrifices. We made this commitment. We came all in and eyes on the prize. And we got to have the prize, and it doesn't always work that way.
And now you're at the Olympics, right? You made it. This is what you practice for. This is what you prepare for every 4 years, and this y'all time. Now what goes into it? Now, like, as in the physical and the mental part, like what goes into it? Because like you said, you have to have tunnel vision, right? You have to have tunnel vision and you have to see one thing and one thing only. So what goes into that once y'all get to the Olympics?
Well, we are there for business. We are not there as tourists. And honestly, it is dialed in and the schedule is set every day from dawn till dusk. And we have training, we have practices every day. And then the athletes, I mean, it's a full-time job as an athlete at this level. They're not wandering around the village. Oh, let me see what other venues I can go see. They're like, oh no, they hunker down in their rooms and they are doing their physio. They're doing ice baths. They're doing hot baths. They're doing massage. They're doing all of the things that professional athletes do because they take care, number one, of their body. That's a huge one. And then they really take care of their rest and recovery, including their nutrition. So they're very diligent with their meals. I mean, in the village, there's a lot to eat. And you can eat it anytime you want, all day long, and nobody tells you no.
Oh, wow.
So they have to be very self-disciplined, and they're professional athletes. So we are dialed in. We're there on a mission with one goal, and that's how they wake up every day, with this focus.
Okay. And what made you want to become a mental toughness coach? And what was like the process in becoming that?
Well, the thing that truly set me on this path was that our Olympics didn't go the way we wanted them to. I remember back in the day, I used to watch this sports show. I forget what it was called. Oh, it was called Wide World of Sports. And it always started with this intro about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And I had mentioned earlier about the thrill of victory when we had qualified on home soil. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's the top of the world. And then the Olympics came crashing down. We didn't perform the way that we needed to on the most important day. And so we were right down in the bottom on the agony of defeat. And the emotion that I felt when we won that qualifier on home soil, and then the emotion I felt when we lost, this emotion of losing was far deeper, far worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into a dark place for a while. And I mean, eventually I emerged, as most of us do, but I asked myself two questions. What didn't I see? And what did I see but refused to acknowledge?
Mm.
And those questions really got me thinking. It's like, why did that happen? How come on the biggest day, the biggest stage of our life, we showed up with fear instead of courage? Why did we play not to lose instead of playing to win? And why does that very thing happen to so many athletes? And that just got me so curious, and it intrigued me so much. I decided to find out, because I then went on a new mission. My new mission was to help athletes show up as their greatest self on the biggest day, the biggest stage of their life. And so I began my mental toughness business, and I just kind of waded in. And you want to know what who my biggest teachers were?
Who was it?
Athletes. The athletes that had choked. The athletes that crumble under pressure. The athletes that are full of nerves and fear and self-doubt and lack of confidence, because we've all felt that. And I learned so much from them. And now I feel like I have a pretty good formula to help us handle all of these emotional storms that sport brings.
Mm-hmm. And the first person that you ever coached up, like once you became the mental toughness coach, the first person that you ever coached, you ever helped out, who was it, and what made you want to help them?
Well, probably not the answer you're expecting. But the first person that I needed to coach up and help was myself.
Mm.
I'm still an adult athlete, and I had to go in and say, what is going on in here? Like, what's happening? When all of these feelings are, rumbling around in there? So the first athlete that I had to help was myself. And that wasn't kind of how I planned it, but I got thinking, if I can help myself, because I just choked on the biggest day, the biggest stage of my life, certainly if I can help me, I can help others. And what I did is I just began exploring, and I used my competitive world to go in and experiment and say, wow, here I am on game point. So I play pickleball. That is so fun. And I'm pretty good. Some days I'm not, but I'm pretty good. And I would go to serve on game point, and I'm like, oh, there that it. I know that feeling of pressure and fear and nerves. And so I just started saying, okay, what can I do with that? Instead of fake it till you make it, just get out there and be confident. You got this. Don't let them see you sweat. That's what I had been taught. And none of that worked.
Mm. And, like you said, those are the things you've been taught. Fake it till you make it. So my daughter plays softball, and I hear a lot of those phrases till this day, right? The first tournament in a few weeks, I'm pretty sure I'm going to hear those phrases on the first day, right? So how do you, like, if you coach like a parent up, right, that says those phrases and pushes those things onto their kids, what are some things that you would tell a parent in that situation?
Well, I think I would tell a parent, a coach, and an athlete. I would start with this. I believe that how we are taught in sport, I actually think we are taught to be emotionally unintelligent. We're taught to avoid our feelings. Fake it till you make it. That's avoid. We're taught to push them down, push them away, actually called suppression. And it doesn't work because what you resist persists. So one of the things that I teach athletes, instead of fake it till you make it, I say, how about this? How about face it instead of fake it? How about feel it instead of fake it? Aren't they called feelings because we're supposed to feel them? All of them. But then the kicker becomes, okay, Shawnee, great. You told me to feel my feelings. Whoop, whoop. Okay, I feel nervous. That's not enough. We go, okay, this is the feeling. And now what do I do with the feeling? I just think it is so interesting because what I think holds athletes back, they don't know what to do with how they feel. And then they take the advice of their parents, fake it till you make it. Or the coach says, just get out there and be confident. But they don't know how, and it doesn't work. So what if they faced it? What if they felt their feelings instead of avoiding them? That's the first piece. Here's the next piece. I love this part. I'll give you my simple version. I'll give you my favorite mental toughness tool. Okay, just a second. Yeah. So I got thinking when I was going through this process of what happened to me at the Olympics and what do we do about it. And then I got thinking about all of these emotional storms, nerves, worry, self-doubt, lack of confidence, sadness, disappointment, fear, pressure, anxiety. And then I said this to myself. I'm like, you know what? When I'm having all of those feelings going on, what am I saying and what am I thinking to myself? And what became very clear to me is my voice of fear was speaking. What if I mess up? What if we lose? What if I make a mistake? What if I feel embarrassed? What if I get benched? What if I get yelled at? What if I make an error? Back to softball. What if I miss an easy shot? What if I strike out? What if? And I really believe that's our voice of fear speaking. And if a parent or a coach that listens to this, if you just take this one simple thing and you teach this to your athlete, this is what I do on client calls. I talk this through with the athlete and I'm like, okay, tell me what your voice of fear says. And they go, boom, 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 boom. Like they're really clear when I point it out. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah. I'm like, I know your voice of fear is really bossy. And then I'm like, okay, here's the good news. You have another voice. But most of the time it's taking a nap or it's sitting on the couch watching Netflix and eating chips. It's called your voice of courage. What if, when you hear your voice of fear speaking, you took the microphone away and you handed it to the voice of courage? What would your voice of courage say? And I'm going to tell you something that's interesting. When I ask athletes that question, they're like, they can't even answer it very well because their voice is having a nap, watching Netflix and eating chips. But their voice of fear, they can go boom, 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 boom. So we have to wake up that voice of courage because I truly believe we all have that voice.
Yeah. I think that was one of like my problems, right? Like it's funny, like when I started doing this podcast, at first I was doing it just audio, and then I decided, well, let's get some video into it. But like I always still to this day, I have a problem speaking in front of a lot of people. Right? I start speaking in front of people, a crowd, I get put on the spot in front of a crowd, and I just instantly start sweating. Like, what do you think? what do you think is the cause of that?
Well, first of all, I would say join the club, right? It's so normal. And
Mm-hmm.
if I could use a comparison of how you feel as an adult, standing in front of and everyone's watching you, you feel exposed.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember that's how our athletes feel every day.
Yep.
Everyone's watching them, everyone's judging them, everyone's looking at them. There's nowhere to hide. And what I believe is going on, it's an acronym called FOPO, FOPO, fear of people's opinions.
Mm.
So when you get all sweaty, you're worried, what are they thinking? What if they don't think that I have something interesting to say? What if they think I wore the wrong color shirt? What if they think, and athletes get stuck in the same thing. When they strike out, they miss an easy shot. Right away, they're like, oh my goodness, what are they thinking?
Mm-hmm.
And this is it's so normal because none of us like to be judged. But we get judged every single day. People are going to judge this podcast. People are going to judge you when you stand up in front of a group. Athletes get judged every single day when they step into the competitive arena. So fear of people's opinions, it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just, I guess, I think you said it earlier, right? Like growing up, like for me growing up, it was like, you can't say, oh, I don't feel like doing this. Oh, they're there, so I don't want to do it like this. Or, it's like having your opinion. The first thing they would tell me growing up, oh, quit being scared. Don't be scared of this. Don't be scared of that. Right. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. Don't be scared. So I guess I go do it. And nowadays it's okay to speak about the mental part of everything because it's not just swept under a rug like it used to be.
And it would be so interesting to me in sport if we just changed some of the terms because words have power.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels in a way like when we talk about mental toughness or the phrase mental health,
Mm-hmm.
people will be like, yeah, that's only for weak people.
Yeah.
Right? There's a stigma, right? There's a label attached.
Mm-hmm.
What if we change the term to like, what if we even use the phrase, what if I said, you know what? I'm not a mental toughness coach. I'm an emotional intelligence coach. We're not going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence
Mm-hmm.
because words have power. And really what we're trying to figure out is when all of these storms hit me, I feel scared. Someone tells me not to feel scared, but I still feel scared. What do I do with it? I think that's emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Remember I said earlier they're called feelings because we're supposed to feel them. What if in sport or life in general, I guess, if it was okay to acknowledge, understand, and learn how to manage our thoughts and feelings?
Mm-hmm.
What would that do for us as parents sitting in the stands? We would say different things than we do now. We wouldn't say, fake it till you make it. Run faster.
Mm-hmm.
We would say something different because emotional intelligence gives us a different lens to see through.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. I agree. What's one simple routine athletes can use to stay calm and focused? Like, let's say for big games, you got a big game coming up. For instance, well, hey, you was in the Olympics. Every game was big. So, what's some routines that you would do, or give to athletes to make them stay calm and focused?
I'm pausing because I'm listening to what I'm thinking. And what I said in my head was, I don't know if it's possible to be calm when it really matters. I mean, maybe there might be somebody that can tell me, oh yeah, on big games, doesn't even bother me. Where I think I would rather say is, it's okay to not feel calm. Because when you feel this thing in here, it's saying, hey, something important is getting ready to happen. It's saying, hey, this means something to you. In fact, I tease athletes all the time. They're like, can you help me not be nervous for games? And I'm like, sure. Just don't care. There, fixed it. Like, as soon as we don't care, it's easy to be calm. And that also means the opposite is true. So what I teach athletes is, it's okay to feel whatever you want to feel. You're allowed to feel anything that you want. I think that's mental toughness, saying, I'm not afraid of my feelings. Come on, feelings, what you got for me? Oh, it's a big game. Oh, nerves. Oh boy, I got it. So this is what I teach. It's a 3-step formula. I don't know if it makes us feel calm, but it helps calm the storm a little bit. And that's different. The first step is wait, WAIT. And it means that pause, take a breath, take a moment. And it's an acronym. What am I thinking? Wait, what am I thinking? And I will tell you for sure, when you pause and you wait, you are going to hear your voice of fear speaking all over the place. Oh my goodness, what if I strike out? Oh my goodness, what if I make an error? What if the coach is mad at me? Blah, blah, blah. and then you go, oh yeah, there's the voice. I know it well. Okay, wait. Step 2, shift. What it means is we can take the thought, the feeling, and we can actually shift it. So as an example, let's say we hear, oh my goodness, what if I strike out? Like, okay, acknowledge it. Wait, oh, I just said that to myself. What if I strike out? Here's a shift. What if I don't? That's also true. It is true that you might strike out. What if you don't? That is also true. So we figure out, and when I work through this with athletes, it takes them a minute, but they can start naming about 5 different things that they could use to help them shift. Here's another one. So I said, what if I don't strike out? Here's another one. You know what? I'm not afraid to strike out. I can't wait for my next at bat. Here's another shift. You know what? Striking out's normal, especially in softball. Right? So right there, I think I shifted that 3 different ways.
Yeah.
So we go wait, shift, and then step 3 is choose. Choose a courageous action. I've used courage quite a few on this chat. I just love that word. So here would be an example of a courageous action. You know what? I don't care where the ball is. I am going to swing on the very first pitch. And I don't give a crap if I hit it or I don't. I'm swinging on the first pitch. Here's another courageous thought. Say somebody's on first base. I'm stealing. I'm going for it, all out. It's a courageous action, because we're trying to tell that voice of fear to shut up. So we shift it and we get into courage. Choose a courageous action that when you do that action, you often get the result that you're looking for. I had another athlete one time when I was working in softball, and I said, well, what's the courageous action? And I don't have all the softball language, but she told me something about her hands. When I do this with my hands, I really get a good swing at the ball. I'm like, great, then do that. Here's another courageous action in softball. You can say to yourself, okay, as soon as I get up there, this is what I'm going to do. Track it, smack it. Because hitting is an aiming skill, and we aim with our eyes. So we go wait, shift, choose.
Hmm. So I like how so it's basically, it's having confidence in yourself, right? Like if you go up, like you said, if you go up there telling yourself I'm gonna strike out, that's not really having confidence. But if you're telling yourself like, oh well, like I'm gonna do what I got to do, right? It's like, well, I got some confidence in myself that I'm not gonna strike out.
This is, I totally hear where you're going with it. And I
Hmm.
guess I would just change one word in
Hmm.
there. I know we use confidence a lot in sport, but I don't teach that and I don't use that word. Here's why.
Hmm.
Confidence is an emotion based on results.
Hmm.
So confidence and competence are connected. When you've had a really good at bat and you made great contact, and the next time you come up, it's easier to be confident. But if you were like, oh my gosh, 3 strikes and I was out the last at bat, it's hard to be confident because it's an emotion. That's why I love courage. Courage is an action. And we can choose to do something courageous even when we don't feel confident. So I
Okay.
think we got to just shift it from fear to courage, fear to courage, fear to courage. Does it work every single time? Nope. I don't know anything that works every single time.
Right.
We do the best that we can.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Dang. See, it's a good podcast right here. I think I'm getting some lessons going on through the
Oh, now think about how all the smart things you're going to tell your daughter.
hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna have her listen to this so she can hear it straight from the person.
Right?
So I see like when I ask you questions, right? Sometimes you pause and you think, and I'm pretty sure it's more like, you talking, you're saying what you have to say. It's like a self-talk, right? Like you're talking to yourself, and some people see, oh, they're talking to themselves, something's wrong with them, right? But in fairness, sometimes talking to yourself, it could mean so many different things. So, like, what's your take on athletes? Like, how much success, more success, you think athletes can have if they do more self talking? And if they're not good at self talking, how can they improve it?
Well, I think athletes talk to themselves all the time,
Hmm.
and it's usually negative. So it's negative self-talk. They're already doing it. In fact, I just did a webinar the other day for a group of coaches, and I asked them, how do you spend any time training your athletes in positive self-talk? And then nobody raised I was like, no, nobody raised their hand. Nobody does that. But we know we don't want our athletes in negative self-talk, but we don't train the opposite. This is what I train. In fact, I was just doing this today. Remember I told you about pickleball?
Hmm.
And I was playing pickleball today. It was so freaking competitive and so awesome. Oh my gosh. And I make mistakes. I mess up. I'm an amateur and I get ticked off at myself.
Hmm.
And I am sometimes the partner beside me, and we're playing doubles. And sometimes she's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, oh, to myself. And this is what I know I'm doing. I'm coaching myself.
Hmm.
So as an example, today I made a number of mistakes. One of them was a drop shot from the baseline, went into the net and we lost the point. And this is what I said. I said, that's okay. Next time, just hit a little bit higher. One time I hit a beautiful, beautiful serve. It felt so good right on the sweet spot. And it was out by that much. And I said, oh man, that felt good. Can't wait for the next one.
Hmm.
I had an opportunity to put a ball away to smash it. And I smashed it and I hit it out by like so much. And this is what I said to myself. I said, that's okay. Keep being aggressive. That's positive self-talk. You know what? I listen to the partner beside me. She's in negative self-talk the entire time. Every time she makes a mistake, she beats herself up and judges herself. That's how I used to be. I don't do that anymore because it decreases performance. Positive self-talk increases performance.
Okay. Yeah, because like you said, like most athletes, every time something happened, mistake is, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. And when in fairness, it should be, okay, next time, next play, next play, next play. One thing that I always preach to my daughter is like, you can never go backwards. Once something happens, you can't press rewind and you can't do it again, right? So what's the point in being down on yourself, sad or whatever, right? As an adult, I still do it, but I know, teaching her like, hey, when you plan, you got to keep going forward. It's no point in thinking what happened this game before, what happened right now, what happened last game, what happened yesterday. What can you do about it, right? So I always tell them there's no rewind in life. Everything is on play and is moving forward.
I think that's really good advice. And you might try these words to see if it hits home differently.
Mm-hmm.
Is I say to athletes, every problem has a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But most athletes stay in the problem, also known as the past. What you're trying to do is to move your daughter to the present or the future, which is what we want to do. And I think mental toughness is the ability to solve problems, because sport is just one series. It's a problem after a problem after a problem after a problem after a problem. And I think it would really help with coaches and parents if we just said to athletes, solve the problem, solve the problem, solve the problem, because they get stuck in the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Let's say if an athlete, like you have an athlete and they feel like the coach doesn't believe in them, what can they do to keep their confidence strong?
Well, first of all, find a different coach.
Number one.
Um, and I mean, I say that, and I say that, and I mean it, because the coach's opinion has so much power. It carries so much influence. So anyway, that'd be the first thing is, I mean, I'll give you some things that I would say to that athlete if I was working with that athlete, but I will also say this. Even the advice that I'm going to give, I don't know if it works, because the coach is so powerful. It is so suppressive when you're in an environment where someone does not believe in you. So I can coach athletes up to the nth degree, and all it takes is one phrase from a coach or one bad body language from a coach, and everything I just coached the athlete up goes, okay. Anyways, so I was working with an athlete. It was a basketball player, and the coach that she had was very, didn't believe in her, always said something negative. Every mistake she got hammered. So sort of similar. And so this is what I said to her. I said, why are you listening? Was there a rule when you joined the team that when the coach is making you feel like a piece of poop, that you are required to listen? Does it say it anywhere in the fine print? And she said, no. And I said, okay, now you get to choose. You get to decide if you want to listen or not. And when the words that are being said are not helpful, you can choose not to listen. And I said, and this is how you do it. You use your buzz off sauce, and you spray your coach with buzz off sauce. Buzz off. Buzz off. Oh, double dose. And I said, but you don't tell him. You don't tell him. You only say it in your head. Now, the reason that I gave her this is because I'm like, I have to give something that is a protective barrier between her and the coach, because that coach is shooting arrows into her heart every single time. So I had to come up with a protective barrier. And so I asked her to use her buzz off sauce. The other part of it is, okay, this is adult speak here. No one can reject you unless you first reject yourself. So when someone doesn't believe in you, what if you disagreed with them? What if you said, you know what, you can think whatever you want. I believe in me. Because if you believe in yourself, which is really hard when you're a kid, by the way, and someone is pushing against that. That's why we need to use the buzz off sauce. And that's why we have to make sure that we say, I get to decide if I agree with you or not. I get to decide if I'm going to listen while you hammer me. I get to decide, because I am not going to judge myself. Do you know how hard this is? Like, I'm listening to myself talk and it's like, oh yeah, Shawnee, that's really great advice. How's a 12-year-old going to do that? That's why I said change coaches.
Got to go back to number one. The buzz off sauce it'll work for so long, but eventually that coach is just not for you. And that's what I think, like, because people get caught up in, like, I'm speaking softball world. That's mainly, what I'm in. People get caught up in good teams, right? Like, oh, we win in every tournament. But are you winning because this coach is really coaching you up, which it could be good, right? Or are you winning because you have the most talent out of every other team that you play against, right? Sometimes it's just because you have a lot of talent, and the other teams, it don't matter. You can have errors, you can do this, you can do that, and at the end of the game, you still on top because you're just the better team. Other people outside looking in, oh, that coach is doing this and that coach is doing that. When really, are they really doing this and are they really doing that? So find another coach, right? You're feeling down. You don't think the coach have confidence in you. Number one rule, find another coach.
I would say try your buzz off sauce first and see if you can manage yourself in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can. Maybe you'll be like, oh my gosh, my buzz off sauce is so effective.
Mm-hmm.
Then great. What I say to parents is, I said, watch your kids. They will show you what's going on in here. All you look for is you think of it like a garden, and they're the little plant. Are they growing or are they wilting? Are they growing or are they wilting? They will show you. They'll show you in their nonverbal body language. They'll show you in their words. They'll show you in their actions. And you made me think of these teams that, put on their websites about their win-loss record and how many tournaments they won and everything. Do you know it's possible they can have really good stats and athletes are still wilting? Because coaching is an art and a science. The art is harder than the science. And what does winning mean? Is it only the scoreboard? Is it only the podium? Because in my opinion, the most important podium is the podium of life. And if we're winning on the sport podium, but we're not getting our athletes to the top of the podium in life, are we really winning?
Right. Yeah. Yep. And it's always about, because after sports is always real life. Like, and that's what I always, like to ask, like, coaches, when I have coaches on, like, what do you teach them outside of softball, outside of the sport that you coach? Are you teaching them about life? Are you teaching them, hey, you can do this, you can be this person on the field, but when you get outside of practice, what type of person are you? That's one question that I really, really like to ask literally every coach that I've had on here. I like to ask that one question for sure. So, constructive criticism, right? It's a big part of sports. Some kids can handle it. Some kids can't handle it as good as other kids, right? So, how can athletes learn and just take it as growth instead of letting it crush them?
Well, I think coaches have to do it better. They're the adult.
Hmm.
Why do we always expect teenagers to adapt? Why do we expect youth, to adapt? This is what I hear a lot. Block out the tone, listen to the message.
Hmm.
I'm like, seriously? Well, why don't the adults in the room smarten up with the tone so that the kids and the teenagers aren't the ones that are always expected to be adapting? Constructive criticism. Gosh, we could do a whole nother podcast on it. Here's why it's so difficult for athletes, because it contains the word criticism. Constructive and criticism. This is what I teach. So let's do it this way.
Hmm.
Because we're talking about feedback. That's what we're talking about, feedback.
Yeah. Hmm.
And feedback helps us grow. Feedback is like fertilizer, but sometimes it stinks. So what if we got a better definition of feedback? Because if feedback is designed to help me grow, you should be asking me questions. Questions that cause me to self-reflect, such as, when you struck out that time, if you had a do-over, what's one thing you would have done differently?
Hmm.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well did you see the ball? When you were walking up to the plate, did you remember to use your voice of courage? I think that if we can lead with questions, then we can say, well, you know what? Here's what I saw. That's different than constructive criticism. And the next piece of the equation, because this is feedback, so we ask questions to cause self-reflection. Then we say, well, here's what I saw, or this is what I was thinking, or did you think about X? And then there's the next piece. Feedback should be a cycle. Think of the word feedback. I feed you, you feed me back. How come the coaches never ask for feedback on their feedback? So we learn to have these conversations with our athletes, and then at the end we'd be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did that feel X? Because when we give constructive criticism and the garden wilts, what are we're going to tell our little garden that's wilting? Suck it up, princess.
Hmm.
Just be tougher. Block out the tone, listen to the message. What if the gardener got better? What if the gardener figured out how to do it better so that these little plants could grow? And then the gardener could look at them and say, wow, what can I do better to help you grow faster, stronger? So that's what I think about constructive criticism. I don't like the way we do it. So I don't think we need to tell athletes to figure it out differently. I think coaches have to get better at it.
Hmm. Yes, and it gets to a point where coaches, like you said, give them some constructive criticism. Then it's, oh, you telling me how to coach. Then now it's a whole different ball game, right?
That's good.
So, though coaches, I guess at that point, that's when they don't want, especially from parents. I'm guessing from parents, right? Maybe if they assistant can, tell them this and that, maybe they won't take it a certain way. But from parents, they hear that and it's, oh, wait, you questioning my coaching and hey, what's going on? So, but it's okay to give it to the kids. It's okay to give it to. What's the best way for an athlete to overcome failure? Whether it's losing a game, struggling in the circle. So this is like a softball question. Struggling in a circle or at the plate, or unwarranted errors are even like not making the team. Like, so say for instance that you had a teenager come up to you and they've been cut from their team, or and been going to tryouts and just not making it, right? What's some things that you would tell them to just clear their mind out?
I'd say get curious, not furious.
Mm.
I would say go analytical and rational instead of emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I got cut. What did that show me? There must be some gaps in my game. I wonder what those gaps are. How do I find out what they are? When I look at the athletes that made the team, what do they have that I don't? Again, that word failure, I hate that word
Mm.
because it's an F word. And F words are bad. And I'm like, if you're not failing, you're not growing. If you never want to get cut, go try out for the very worst team.
Mm.
Then you don't have to worry about getting cut. Failure is required for us to grow, but we fear it. We avoid it. And I wish we had a better name for it, because it actually can really springboard us. Do you remember way back when you asked me how did I get into the mental toughness coaching?
Yeah.
It happened after the biggest failure in my life.
Mm.
So what if we didn't fear failure? What if we faced it and we learned from it?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, a lot of people don't like to fear it. It's failure. Failure is here. Let's turn off. Let's see if it's another way around it. When a lot of times you need to fail to know, oh well, can't do it like that again. Let's try a different way instead of just veering off. Right? Let's go through it, fail a few times, see that okay, well, this is not the right way to do it. So I need to figure out a different way.
See, that's curious, isn't it? That's
Mm-hmm.
being curious, not furious. And you also made me think of, what if we just looked at failure as a problem to be solved, right? We talked about that earlier. It's just a problem to be solved.
Mm, right. Yep. Solve it. Solve it. Go through it, solve it, figure it out. See what you can do. See what you can do, right? You might figure something out and hit the jackpot. Yeah. you just you just never know. Right? So let's say it's a player that's been going through injuries, injury after injury after injury, and it's time. They've just been itching to get back on the field, the court, whatever sport they play. What's something that you help these athletes out while they're going through their injuries?
I mean, I have two thoughts before I answer the question directly.
Hmm.
Number one, I think that overtraining is a real thing, and injuries are often a result of too much. Rest and recovery is not being built into the yearly training program. In fact, most athletes, I ask them, like, what's your yearly training plan? And they're like, what are you talking? They don't even know what that is. So all they do is more.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing, overtraining.
Mm.
The second thing is, so often athletes come back too soon from injury,
Mm.
especially if they're a really good player. They feel pressure from the coach to come back too soon. Then they get re-injured. Okay, so back to your question. How do I help athletes get back, return to play after
Mhm.
injuries? It's so much of what we've talked about, of they have to face their fears, because it is fearful coming back after an injury. You have all of these, right? All of the thoughts again.
Mhm.
And this is what I say to them. You know what? If you're looking for a guarantee, you should stop playing your sport, You're going to come back from injury, and I will tell you it is a gamble. A gamble means the outcome is uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen when you come back from your injury, but if you're looking for a guarantee, don't work with me because I won't give you that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked them this: what is your voice of fear saying right now about coming back? And then I listen. They tell me all the things. And then I'm like, okay, pass the microphone to your voice of courage.
Mm-hmm.
What does your voice of courage have to say? And so we just keep doing that. Wait, shift, choose. Notice my voice of fear, hand the microphone to the voice of courage. And then the last thing that will add to that, there should be on every team a very specific protocol about return to play.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the severity of the injury, your first day back, you're not going 100%. It's like, oh no, this is day 1, return to play, day 2, day 3, day 4. And there is a plan for return to play. So the athlete can be like, oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
I had a 3rd-degree ankle sprain. I won't be expected to sprint to first base as fast as I can on the very first day. Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So voice of fear, voice of courage, and make sure there's a specific plan because that helps the athlete feel safe as they return to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when them athletes, especially as the younger kids, right? The first day they are able to get back out there and do what they want, they are going full speed. Like they completely forget that they just came back, that this is day 1 from an injury. They go out there and they like, then it's like, oh, why am I not like an ankle, right? Oh, why am I not running as fast as I used to? Um, right? You just came back, like take it easy. But these kids, like these coaches, right? They, not all coaches, some coaches, not all coaches, because I've seen one coach where he clearly told the player like, no, like not right now, right? You can come, you can practice a little bit. You feel discomfort, you need to go sit down, right? And that's fine. And I think that's what the coaches or the kids are fear. That's their fear. That's their fear of telling their coach, "Hey, coach,
Yes.
I'm not fully ready. I'm not fully
Yes.
ready." That's a big part, right? Because the coaches don't.
Huge.
Some coaches don't want to hear that. Some coaches, oh no, I don't want to hear it partially. You need to be ready 100%.
Right.
So yeah, it's the fear, right? These kids they don't want to face their fears.
Right.
So I get it. I get it. How can parents help support their kids through the emotional time they're having? Like we said earlier, getting cut or just having bad games and stuff like this, right? Stuff like that. Like, parents, their kids have a bad game and it's rah rah rah. Why did you do this? You should have did this. Why did you do that? Not like, hey, it's okay. Let's worry about it next week when you start your training. Why a lot of parents, and I don't know if you've heard it through your ears, but I hear it a lot, right? Is let's wait for the kid to come and let's tell them everything that they messed up on, right? Do you think parents should do that, and how should they change it?
I think if you think of the analogy of driving a car, we should be letting our kids drive even if they don't have their driver's license, and the parents need to sit in the back seat or go in the trunk. One of the two. This is what I teach parents
Mm-hmm.
is watch and listen to what you say, and then watch your athlete coming back to the garden. When you say X, do you feel like your athlete grows or wilts? When you do this, do they grow? And just watch.
Yep.
And every time they wilt, stop saying the things that are wilting. And then I go one step further. I said, why don't you have a conversation with your athlete about this? You can say something like, okay, when I watch your games or after games, what's one thing you want me to stop saying? And what's one thing you want me to start saying? What's one thing you want me to do less of?
Mm-hmm.
And what's one thing you want me to do more of? Like, how come we never ask our athletes? All we do is tell. Why don't we ask them what do they need from us? We're the gardener, they're the little plants. What do they need from us so that they can grow strong and healthy? What's wilting them? What's growing them? Why don't we ever ask the plants?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because and a lot of parents like to live through their kids, right? So when their kids give them an answer, now are the kids time to face fears again, right? Now are they scared to tell the truth, right? A lot of parents don't want to hear the truth. they, they only want to hear what they thinking, and what they have on their mind, right? You ask a kid, certain things, and then it could be, what, I don't even want to play anymore,
Yeah.
right? Because those things happen also, right? Parents is like me, for instance, right? If I would have told my kids, what, I've played basketball my whole life, only thing you're playing is basketball. We're not playing anything else. Don't even ask. Basketball only. Like, what would that do to your kids, right? What about if your kids don't even like basketball? Now you're forcing them to do something that they don't even want to do. And I think in some sports, that's a problem where parents were good at a certain sport, so they just expect their kids to be good, and now the expectations are through the roof.
Well, my answer to that is we can't help our kids face their fears until we have first faced ours.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what you're talking about with parents, the unhealthy parts of it, it's just fear-based. It's fear-based behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we were to drill down and say, you said this, you did that, you didn't say this, you didn't do that, and then you drill down, there's always a fear down there. And it's fear that their kid's not going to be good enough, or fear that they think that they failed as a parent, or fear of what other people are going to say, or they're not going to get a scholarship, or they're not going to get picked for the team. And so if we don't face our fears as parents, we will say things that wilt the garden. We will do things that wilt the garden.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right about that. For athletes like that's chasing their dreams, to make it to college, make it to the next level, and even to professional sports, what mental habits that they can choose like that separates them from the rest of the athletes?
Well, I believe mental toughness is an advantage, and very few athletes are taking advantage of it. They spend a ton of time and effort and money in skills, drills, strategies, tactics, private coaching, dry land training, and there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with any of that.
Right.
But mental toughness can be a differentiator. So, what I think is important for athletes is go seek out, what should I be thinking about? What should I do? When I feel nervous, how do I handle it? What about that when I'm trying to go to sleep the night before a big game, and I can't get to sleep till like 3 a.m. because all of these things. How come athletes don't search out, or how come their parents or whoever it is, how come we don't search out resources to help with the mental game? Resources are everywhere. There's so much free stuff out there. It's all over YouTube. It's all over social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that I would say is notice that you're not mentally tough. Your mind game needs improvement. And then go work on it the same way you would go work on your hitting when you hire a hitting coach.
Mm-hmm.
resources are there. Go take advantage.
Yep. If you had one piece of advice to athletes, parents, and coaches about building a winning mindset, what would it be?
Until you face your fear, it will always follow and find you. And it will show up at the most inopportune moments and on the biggest day, the biggest stage of your life. That fear will take over and you will underperform. Face your fears.
Okay, that's a perfect way to end this thing. For everybody, if anybody you listen to it live or you listen to it, I could tell you one thing. If you found one thing out about this, it's facing your fears. Like that's the main thing. Until you face your fears, you won't be able to get to where you need to be. Mhm. So I have one last question that I like to ask, and is if you who would you like to see on the podcast, but the person you pick, you would have to help me get them on the podcast.
Well, let me ask this.
Hmm.
What do you think your audience most needs?
I mean, hmm, that's a good one because the audience that I have, they is mainly softball players. Mainly soft. I have a lot of softball players because most of the time that's where I'm at softball tournaments. I have a lot of softball followers and supporters. That's like my biggest fan base is softball players. And they like to hear from like good coaches. Like for you, the mental part of it. This was a whole different switch. This was the first time I had this part of being a part of the podcast, the mental part of the game. A lot of times it's just I have just coaches and I've had players also. So for me, it's anything. Like I'm willing to have anyone that can break down any part of an athlete game or anything like anything.
Um, I'm working with an NC2A Div 1 coach and her team.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say who that is on this
Right.
podcast because I don't have their permission to say that.
No, for sure. Right.
She would be a good guest, and I will do my best to help you get her on this podcast.
Okay. Okay. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I know it's been a long time. At one point we was in contact, then we got out of contact, and then we got back in contact. But it was a blessing to have you on the podcast and speak this part of sports about the athletes, the mental part of it, because I mean this information can help anyone, not only in sports but anyone in life, period. So I really appreciate you taking your time out and being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
All right, I want to thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.